This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
Will.
And oh man, didn't mean to share that with you guys. I can't
We
believe
were talking about something beforehand, huh?
Guy with a boot on his head.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly,
what's that a boot?
What's that a boot? I always think like one of these years he's not gonna run, and he runs anyways.
Yeah, one day it'll be his time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think anybody that ran was a true gamer. So there's that. Although there was, did you see the AI clip where they had it was like Trump, Obama, and Biden
and they're talking
online?
Yeah,
they're like talking mad crap to each other because it's like an AI voice thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yep,
it was pretty hilarious.
Was it Call of Duty or what were they playing? I don't remember anymore.
I think so. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've looked these things up. But man, that was funny. So the thumbnail it says culture versus entertainment. We'll see where we get with this topic, but I just generally wanted to ask you, Will.
Yes.
When somebody tries to force a set of beliefs, does it usually go over well?
Regardless of the set of beliefs, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's the best way for somebody to introduce something to the culture? What would you say?
I mean, it depends on what your situation. Are we doing historically, Chris? Usually it's subjugation.
Well, there's that.
How it goes.
But does that go well when you're trying to, like, I don't know, sell video games?
No, you just got to be subtle with it. I mean, really, the goal should be entertainment first, and then if you have other messages in there, people are entertained; they don't care.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I think the easiest way to slide something in, like that somebody may or may not agree with, is to have it somewhere in the background or like a minor part of the story. But the thing is like, you got to remember, the person creating content is going to have a set of beliefs. No matter who they are, no matter what they do, they're going to have a set of beliefs, right?
Yeah, of course.
And those sets of beliefs will find their way into the things that they do, right?
I mean, in ways, yeah. But again, if entertainment is the goal, then if something slips in, it'll be subtle, so it won't be beating you over the head with whatever subject matter you're trying to get into the game.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Will. I'm just saying that, like, for example, like, let's say you write a book. What are the chances that an independent artist writing a book is not going to introduce their own beliefs into that book?
Yeah, well, I mean, the greatest artists have, interesting backgrounds usually, so their life bleeds into the art.
Like, for example, like Frank Herbert with Dune, right? His philosophy enters the book directly. And some of the time he spent in the environmental movements, his time spent traveling in the Middle East, those things all had an influence on how he wrote the book, right?
Yeah, those are the two major plot points of that book.
Now, what would diminish the impact of a specific artist in a work of art? What would be the quickest way to diminish that?
I mean, again, I think it just depends on the situation and the medium, because sometimes some mediums you can get away with it, particularly if it's a certain time, if there's certain things going on. Being more upfront about something makes a lot of sense. So like anti-war stuff makes a lot of sense during the war. If you're coming against
but there's a very easy answer to this, Will.
Tell me.
Add more people. It dilutes the belief system you're trying to introduce by having more people involved, provided they come from a diverse set of backgrounds.
So you wanted more people to write Dune? I'm confused by what you're saying.
No. I'm saying, like, if you're doing a big project like a video game, if one person does the whole video game, they're more likely to instill their own beliefs.
Yeah, because it's their baby. If you have a creative director, though, usually the creative director's vision is what gets carried through.
For example, Last of Us 2, right? You've got that one guy I forget what his name is, Neil something.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. The
guy who created this series.
Druckmann. Neil Druckmann, right? Is that the right name? I think that's right. Anyways,
sounds right. Yeah.
So, like, his creative vision controls it, but you've got other people writing content for the game, right? So no matter, Neil Druckmann, I was right. You got, like, the content dilutes down from his set of beliefs down to what actually hits the finished product, right? So when you expand the team, you get more what's the right word? Closer to the culture that surrounds you, because the culture that surrounds you is where you're going to draw from for these people.
Yeah. I mean, you always run up against the idea of the echo chamber. So even within the gaming industry, if you try to hire a bunch of people, the people who gravitate towards that kind of job, especially now, is like they're gonna overlap in a lot of ways. So I think you need to do more than just try to dilute your workforce.
Well, what about nepotism, Will? How would you define nepotism?
Usually the way it's defined is you giving your son a job when he doesn't deserve it.
All right.
Or a friend.
I have a new term. I'm going to call it cultural nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
So like group dynamics. Like, for example, if I were to hire, I don't know, a guy from Ohio, is he more likely to hire another guy from Ohio or somebody from, I don't know, Canada? It probably doesn't make a difference because Ohio's so big. Now, let's say he's got an opportunity to hire somebody from his hometown or Canada. Well, who's he going to pick? Probably.
Does he know this person?
Well, yeah, that's also a good point. Yeah. But if this person is like from the same town and bred in the same way, raised the same way, more likely to hire that guy, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to surround yourself with people who agree with you? I think that's everybody.
And so I like to call it cultural nepotism.
I mean, that's so I am a manager. The thing is, like, anytime you try to hire someone, you want someone to align with your values in the company. So depending on what those are, it's like having a can-do attitude. I mean, that's already a nepotism in a certain way. If someone doesn't come off and you don't think that they have that value just based off an interview, you're going to hire someone else.
Exactly. So what you wind up with in entertainment industries where you think you're going to dilute down these extreme opinions or beliefs, you end up with echo chambers from the cultural nepotism of the hiring scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you wind up with, a group of people making games that don't align with the people playing the games.
I think part of the problem, it's not just that. I mean, there's always been controversial. It's definitely part of it. There's always been controversial stuff in games. I mean, some of my favorite games are very controversial. There's, just hitting the nail on the head about the progressive stuff. There's definitely games I love that have progressive messaging in it.
That doesn't mean the game's bad.
No, I'm getting to that point. Part of the problem is that the writers today just suck. I don't know what it is. I see this in other mediums too. So a lot of like the top selling books and the best performing TV shows and movies nowadays, the writing really has gone down.
Absolutely.
And I mean, maybe I'm just old man screaming at clouds or whatever, but I really do think that there's a quality problem. And that they can't be subtle anymore. So like, again, there's always been political stuff in games and in movies and in books and stuff, but it was so subtle that, again, the entertainment portion of it pulled you through. And also a lot of times, like, made you reflect on some of the values you might hold. Be like, maybe not really challenge it per se, but made you think about it. Nowadays, it's just on it. Yeah. Nowadays, it's like either believe this and it's really ham-fisted ideas, or like, don't buy the game, and then people don't buy the game and they still get mad about it. So,
all right, we got Red from Colors of Gaming saying, I don't think it has much to do with the message. It's that it's political. There's a difference between being political and a genuine belief. I mean, are you saying like the idea is you're on the team or you're off the team, and if your messaging doesn't match what the team is telling you, then you're, like that kind of a thing? Or are you talking like overtly political, like there's vote for somebody in a video game? Because those are two different things, and I'm not sure which one he's talking about.
The thing is, I think they could do things like that. I mean, I enjoyed some of the early 2000s Eminem songs that were openly bashing not Trump, but Bush. And I mean, it was still entertaining at that time. But now it just,
this is a good point though. Taking well-established IPs and shoehorning political ideology. Like, for example, let's say like you're playing Mass Effect Trilogy, right? And in Mass Effect 4, whatever they're going to name the new Mass Effect game, all of a sudden Shepard, who you've been making decisions for the whole game, suddenly starts making decisions that are which you would have made in the previous games. Now these decisions are overt and like different from what you would have made previously, and you don't get a choice. Like that could be a changing of the IP in a political or belief system nature. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, a big appeal of those games for some people is being able to romance basically anybody, right?
Right.
And if the new direction is like it makes you feel bad for doing that, then that it completely ruins some of the enjoyment again and the entertainment of the game.
Well, they're actually, speaking of changing a game that in a way that overtly changes the entire storyline. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not even really my cup of tea anymore. But there was a game called Catherine years back. It was it was more of a puzzle platformer game or whatever. But they introduced a third character. We'll say, we don't want to get ourselves banned off YouTube. But there were 2 Catherines in the first game, and then there were 3 Catherines in the second version, the remake. It's called Catherine Full Body, which is a play on words because the third character is on the team, we'll say. And they're on the same team as you, the main character, who's Vincent, a male.
Okay.
And that person changes the entire relationship between you and the other 2 Catherines, because this person is inserted in every storyline all the way till the end. And you can't avoid playing those sections at all. And so even if you're totally on board with that thought process or totally against it, you have no choice but to play through those parts of the story. And it completely changes how you feel about the other 2 characters. So, anyways, like that's an overt change, and it changed the IP significantly.
Yeah, and again, if there's an established audience for an IP, I think it's, I don't know. There's so many instances where they just crap on the original audience and like, well, we don't need those people. The people who made it famous and bought the games and stood in line, they just act like those people don't exist, and but they should still line up to buy this game that's clearly not for them anymore.
Right.
I mean, you see those movies all the time where, I mean, I can go on and on about Star Wars. I hate what they're doing. But the idea is like, you're just going to crap on the entire audience that made this into a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Like, what kind of business sense does that make? You're supposed to expand the audience, not shrink it dramatically.
Our third co-host, Andrew, actually wanted us to talk about this. He said, I think they're getting a reality check with Dragon Age. I saw that refunds are skyrocketing and they're going to lose big time with the budget they had for the game. I actually don't know much about Black Myth Wukong.
I believe is it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is made by a Chinese developer, which is one of the biggest reasons it's
blowing
up.
Yeah. Oh, it's blowing up because it's Chinese, or it's blowing up because it's
in
a good way or a bad way?
I don't think necessarily bad way. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they actually gave a paid holiday to play this game in that country.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, like, with all the technological booms in China, earned or unearned, in some cases earned, in some cases unearned, it makes sense that we'd have some good Chinese developers at some point. So
yeah, they're essentially doing what we did to English during the Industrial Revolution. So
fair enough. Yeah. He said, yes, there was controversy when it came out first. There was a mistranslation by one of the devs that Games Media ran with. I'm going to have to look this one up later. I don't know enough about it, but I don't think that there's a reason to skip. Like the Game of the Year junk is like considered a global phenomenon, whether you like it or not. So I don't know why you'd skip over a game developed specifically by the Chinese.
Yeah, no, if it's a good game, it's a good game.
That's like saying you're going to skip over a painting because it was made by a Chinese artist.
Yeah, I mean, isn't like half of Destiny owned by a Chinese investment firm now?
Now, if it was like a stolen IP, there's a different story. But for the
it's based off one of the greatest, Eastern fairy tales of all time. So
fair enough. Yeah. Where was I going with this? Anyway, so like gaming and entertainment is like a microcosm of culture, right? Mm-hmm. It's downstream of culture. So whatever the culture is, the entertainment should match or look like the culture. There's an inherent and stark contrast when
I completely disagree with that. I don't think it needs a match. I think generally art has always been in stark contrast to the prevailing culture.
You're telling me when you turn on the TV, the culture that you see on TV and the entertainment is not matching the culture you see out and about?
Art's always been controversial.
Well, art, yes.
I mean, yeah.
Your standard content and media is going to match what you see in the culture.
Yeah, it definitely depends. So generally, there's always a medium where it's more traditional. So like television for a long time, radio for a long time. But I mean, it really depends on where you want to put video games. I honestly, I think that some of it is just consumable media now. It's like Madden, that kind of thing, because this comes out every year. It's not necessarily an art form anymore. It's more just like a yearly update. So that definitely matches. Those kinds of things match culture more aligned, more specifically. But then there's also the games that are they definitely fall into the art category where it's no different from a painting, in my opinion. And a lot of times art is controversial.
I see what you're saying. So basically, you're saying that art doesn't necessarily match the culture.
The mismatch here is that generally it's not a multi-million-dollar organization pumping out this very specific piece of art that is trying to be a part of the counterculture. These are multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar, in some cases, multi-trillion-dollar case, actually, in terms of Microsoft, that are trying to infuse their beliefs into a medium and then change the culture from this, what should be a piece of art. So it is a completely different dynamic.
And that's what I'm saying. When you've got these gigantic organizations trying to insert culture into the games that doesn't match the culture of the people playing them, it doesn't always work.
Oh, it doesn't. That's why they don't sell anymore.
Right. And then the other aspect,
it's going to collapse the industry. I mean, like, they brought up Dragonware. If it's as bad as I've been seeing, I mean, that sucks. BioWare, goodness, is.
Did you say Dragon Warrior? You mean Dragon Age?
Yeah, Dragon. Yeah, okay. Apparently, I'm tired already. Dragon Age. That's this fabled franchise and also a fabled developer. And something like this, the multiple misses that they've had due to corporate oversight or just weird, involvement from different developers can destroy the entire franchise and also that developer.
I guess if you're trying to have a conversation where you're making somebody see your point of view, it's better to ease them to a stark difference of opinion than it is to just blatantly throw it in their face.
Yeah. Again, it depends.
It does.
The way that I just fall on the way that they are doing it in video games right now, they do not have the talent. And that's where I'm gonna like say that's my argument is that they could get away with something like this if they actually had the talent to do it.
Well, it's like if you show up to, I don't know, a protest and you're the counter protester, if yours is like F you on a sign, that's not convincing anybody your opinion's right and their opinion's wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
But think about some of the greatest songs from like the 60s and 70s, songs that we still play today and that we love. If you actually listen to the lyrics and the context,
they're overtly political.
And they're very anti-government or very anti-one administration, very anti-war or something. But the thing is that those people had talent, and it's just a different ballgame now.
Red, I see you're saying that you think Catherine Full Body does it great because it challenges the player, but wouldn't you agree that the insertion of the third Catherine changes the story inherently, and it is a different game altogether? Because that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the game's bad flat out, because I don't think it is flat out bad. I do think, though, that it overtly changes it. Let's see here. There are so many recycled titles or DLC, so I appreciate when a studio tries something new.
Yeah, I just wish they would.
I disagree, Red, that it made it better. I don't agree with you on that. It's not a bad game, but it's not better. Anyways.
Yeah, but back to Erod here. I agree. I really wish there's just new games where they tried experimental things. Even if it's something I didn't agree with, if it's in a different IP and they try something new, I would respect it so much more than ruining existing franchises.
Well, like Halo Wars. Halo Wars was trying something brand new in the Halo series. It didn't really stick the landing with how it was marketed, but it did something successfully, in my opinion, which is put the Halo franchise in an RTS.
Yep. It sold well, too. The first one did.
A lot of people didn't understand what they were buying, but that's besides the point, sadly. But I guess back to what you were saying, the art, I guess if you can do something catchy in music, you can kind of sell anything. You don't have to hide your opinions. Here we go. How do we feel about the future of Halo? They're trying to rebrand. I think the rebrand and relaunch is probably their best bet to try and save the franchise, but I don't know that it's going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. obviously I'm a Halo fanboy. I freaking love the original trilogy, and also I do like Reach too. And I was
And
super
ODST.
pumped for and ODST, yeah. Though that started off as a DLC, so
I know it did, but
I really was excited for Halo Infinite. I really liked the campaign, and then I was just so let down, so burned for the third time that there wasn't going to be a campaign DLC, and didn't have like multiple biomes and everything that everyone's heard. This rebranding is, I'm cautiously optimistic for, because the studio is completely different. So shedding the name of 343, going to Halo Studios, I think it's kind of a dumb name. But it shows that it's new leadership. It's essentially a new studio. They like fired everybody, and which is unfortunate for the developers that actually had talent that were apparently, like according to these leaks, were apparently telling the studio heads and the like CEO and stuff, like, hey, we need to go to Unreal, or even it's like, this is not the right direction of Halo. This is not the right art form, whatever.
Well, I mean, just real quick to expand on that, though, the only way to work with a custom engine is to keep your workforce.
Yes.
Which they never did.
It's not 343's fault, though. That's Microsoft.
No, I'm just saying, like, Microsoft really put them in a bad spot because they said use your own custom engine, but don't hire people long term to run it.
Oh, absolutely.
They had so much turnover.
I forget the guy's name who's now in the head of that studio.
Mark something?
I don't think it's Mark.
No, it's an M, I thought.
I think he might be French. He's the one who turned around the MCC. So I honestly have a lot of faith in that guy. He's the one who headed up the team, that fixed all the bugs, that got all that new custom, skins and weapons and all kinds of cool stuff into that game. Got into a playable state. So hopefully he can do the same thing with the new Halo game. Also, since he's taken over, the content updates for Halo Infinite have gotten considerably better.
Oh, yeah. I'm still mad that they don't constantly offer the Mark, was it Mark 5 that they had for like a minute and it was gone? Oh, it's Pierre Hintz. Yeah. That's the name. Head of Halo Studios, Pierre Hintz. I think, isn't he Canadian? I didn't think he was French.
Oh, well, close
enough. Either way, whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think he's definitely pushed the group, the Halo group, or the Halo Studios, whatever they're called nowadays, in the right direction. And it started with them canceling Paramount Plus's Halo. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't do that. That was Paramount's decision flat out.
They did that, though. Oh my gosh. Well, that's the old leadership's decision to do that. They did not want Halo to be Halo, and I don't know why. Why did they hate it so much?
I don't know. I will be honest with you. When you take on an IP that's beloved by many people, you don't hire people that hate it.
Yeah. You remember that first like dev video that they released for Halo 4, and like, we specifically hired people who didn't like Halo.
I know.
Why?
Like, why would you advertise that?
Yeah.
Like, that's like the worst advertising you could do.
Yeah. Halo was on top of the world. Why wouldn't you want to just make more Halo?
Look, Rings of Power, I have one comment. Tolkien is rolling in his grave, dude. He cannot be happy with what they've done.
He is digging down to the center of the earth so he can burn up. That's what's
he's trying to get to Mount Doom with all of his IP that hasn't been published yet.
Rings of Power. Oh my gosh.
That is such a waste of, especially on your Bezos, because like Jeff Bezos, the Amazon Prime catalog has been decent, and then they do that, and it's like, what the heck were you thinking? Because Amazon Prime actually has a decent chunk
they do.
Of like
they have a lot
diverse
of good
opinions and like stuff from every part of the political ideology and everything else. So it's like,
I don't even think that Rings of Power is political. It just sucks. It just plain sucks.
That's what I was getting to. Rings of Power, one, it doesn't at all use its source material. You look at the source material they paid for, it's not.
Well, they paid for like, what is it, like 10 pages of appendices or something?
The appendices, and all of the appendices of Return of the King, which is more than 10 pages. It's like 50 to 100 pages.
No, I didn't realize it was that long. It's been a while since I read that.
They paid for access to the entire appendices. Now, whether or not they use them,
no, they should have just. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Which Watchmen, though? Are you talking about the movie? Because that's good. Or you're talking about the weird.
The show is on HBO. So
the show on HBO is garbage. Don't watch it.
I haven't watched it.
It's really bad. It's one of the most overtly political shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like just bad.
The
comic.
I mean, to be
Okay.
fair though, I believe that the movie, at the very least, I've never actually read the comic, is, that is political. But the thing is, it's super entertaining, and you can interpret situations in different ways depending on how you feel. So like that's
Well, it's like
subtly.
what's the Rorschach? It's the Rorschach device, right? Like if you can put out a piece of content where multiple viewpoints can be found, like you've really nailed it.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. Like that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's very political, but it's very interesting. Yeah, they're missing the interesting / entertainment portion.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know how to do it. Yeah.
So if I had to bury it down, how does culture impact entertainment? Well, the culture will decide whether the entertainment is good or bad.
Yeah. Well, here's a good example of how culture impacts entertainment. The first Joker versus the second Joker.
Didn't the first one do really well?
The first one did super well. The second one, honestly, I'm very much in the minority. I still enjoy that movie for what it was, but I can understand why people did not like that movie. It was a huge, basically, it was a reaction to how people got excited about the first film. They're like, no, this guy is sick. You're not supposed to be cheering him on. Yeah, perfect summation there. Second one tried to undermine everything the first one did.
Well, I think one of them, this is just my personal opinion, but I think the events of what was happening when the Joker came out significantly boosted its
sure,
its presence in media.
It started the whole clown world meme thing.
Right.
Yep.
And then there's the whole thing where he shoots the news guy who's totally out of touch.
Yep.
It's like, oh my gosh, you couldn't have been more nail on the head than.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what ended up happening is the Joker was basically the microcosm of the decaying culture, which is what a lot of people felt at the time and still feel. So BioShock is an amazing game.
BioShock is one of those games where I've always liked it, but I've never actually finished any of them.
Oh my gosh, you have to go through.
I'm halfway through the first one again after my replay on the Switch. I've got it on every console I own too, which is sad because it was given away digitally on the PlayStation, and it was but and even if it is very political, it's not political in the same way.
But they have talent and it's entertaining.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Exactly. I mean, you
can play that game and come away with a completely different impression of what you're supposed to take away from the game, which is that's true. That's true art.
Now, if I remember correctly, the whole story of BioShock is they're grabbing the best and the brightest in lots of fields, putting them into an isolated city underwater, and then trying to be more successful than the area around them. Isn't that the overt idea?
Oh, the overt idea you can take is that it's very anti-capitalist.
But that's not what the rapture is. It's not capital, or it is capitalist, laissez-faire, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's how it starts. Right. Yeah.
And then it devolves into what it becomes.
Yeah, the people are just nuts. That's how I took it. And then I was entertained by the fact that how did this society fall apart after having everything? So yeah.
Well, so there's two ways to really do breakaway civilization in media. There's one of them obviously is the apocalyptic rapture. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, and this is a terrible movie, so I don't know why I'm referencing it, but there's what the hell is that movie called? It starts with an E. It's there's this city in the sky. And Elysium. Yeah, Elysium. And it's all the rich people live there, and so they rely on the servant class on Earth, mm-hmm. right? So you have a successful breakaway civilization, and you have an apocalyptic breakaway civilization, and those are really the only two ways I see those things working in media. But usually, the overt thing is either the lower class ends up hating the upper class and descends upon them, or you have the apocalyptic rapture situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the anti-Ayn Rand. I actually haven't read Ayn Rand, believe it or not. Have you?
Yes. It's been a while, though. My computer's dying. 1 second.
Plugging it in.
Plugging it in.
Plug it in. Plug it in. What the hell is that from?
It's the plugging commercial, isn't it? Is it? Oh gosh, what is that brand?
Was it Glad?
Oh, I think it is Glad.
They like you plug in like the freshener or whatever.
Yeah,
it's been forever since I've seen one of those commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Glad plugins. Yep. Oh, Glade, not Glad.
Glade. Yeah, whatever. Glad.
Don't
is
get
the trash
mad.
bag.
Get Glad.
Close enough.
Sponsorships, reach out to us.
We'll take them. Exactly. We're good. We will definitely not get your name wrong.
if you pay us, we won't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! If we ever did an ad read on here, you'd know that we were bought and paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way.
Elysium, I did like that movie.
I did too. I thought it was.
I'm a sucker for subpar.
Is that Matt Damon?
Matt Damon, yeah. I'm also a sucker for most Matt Damon movies.
You ever? So I'm going to tell this. I probably said this story before, but there was one time I was watching The Martian and I fell asleep, and I woke up in the middle of Interstellar, where they're finding Matt Damon.
Yeah.
He's in both movies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, when did Mars become a frozen, or was it the water world or the frozen tundra?
It was a frozen tundra, yeah.
Right. I was like, when did Mars become a frozen tundra? And it took me more than like 10 minutes to figure out I was in a different movie. But yeah, so like for me, Matt Damon just crossed both movies.
That was a great cameo for him too. No one was expecting him to be the villain.
I know, it's shocking.
Villain for that scene. Yeah.
You always gotta go to space to save Matt Damon.
Mm.
So what's your favorite game that has themes of social issues? I mean, Mass Effect has it in there. There's a lot of that in Mass Effect.
He's beating people
because you want to be a vigilante.
Totally fine.
Revenge.
And the police are allowing it to happen. This is America. Guilty or innocent until proven guilty.
This isn't America. This is Gotham.
I don't know. Social issues. I mean, BioShock, of course, comes to mind.
Batman-based take. What would you say are some of the most culturally relevant books that are coming out now?
Oh, coming out now. Oh, geez.
Like I know there's the new Inkspell book or Inkheart book, but that kind of ran its course with the original trilogy, didn't it?
I have no idea. I've only read the first one. It was good.
I thought you read them all.
I have them all. I have not read through them yet. Andrew read through them. He loves his books.
Oh, okay. I mean, there was Aragon and Harry Potter.
Yeah, Aragon. There's a new book in that series now.
So you know what's sad about Aragon? Okay, I just found this out recently. Scholastic has like these ratings for the maturity level versus the reading level for books. And Aragon scores extremely low in reading level and extremely, like, not extremely high, but like much higher in maturity level. So it's like you're reading something that's more mature, but written at a really weak.
Yeah. How does the Harry Potter books rank? Because
they rank pretty.
Adults that freak out over that series.
Harry Potter ranks is one of the like best as far as if you're reading the series throughout the grades, it hits each grade pretty well. As far as like literary levels, I don't remember what the scale is, but speaking as somebody who no longer is willing to read or watch Harry Potter, I'm mad that that's one of the best series as far as literary levels go.
Hey, they have Christmas in it, Chris. You should be satisfied.
You open up with a satanic black mass in the first book. Anyways,
oh my gosh.
I don't even read books, recent books, 40 years or older for me. What is your favorite? Well, actually, you know who's a good social issues author was Mark Twain, and I really like Mark Twain.
Mm-hmm.
And you should read his own personal favorite book that
he wrote. How he got his name?
Had to do with where he grew up, didn't it?
Well, he worked on steamboats.
Right.
It's literally they're measuring the depth of the water. So
that's what
Mark Twain. That's where he comes from. The
Samuel Clemens.
Yes. I grew up in Missouri, so like Mark Twain is like a personal hero of everyone who grows up in Missouri. He's basically.
Do you know what his own attested favorite book he wrote is?
I know it's the Joan of Arc book. You brought this up before.
It is, yeah. That's the one he says is his favorite. But yeah, that's literally the one that he said is his favorite. He spent 12 years writing that book and researching about it, and it's really good. Actually, you should read it. What was I gonna say?
I'm trying to think of recent books. Oh, I read The Wager recently. Do you know what book
The
I'm talking about?
Wager.
Yeah, it's about the shipwreck of the ship called The Wager.
Okay, what's it about?
Basically, I'm going to give the date screwed up because it's not really that important, but the 1700s, I believe. Basically, England and Spain are battling over the Americas, and England like has this kind of like idea that they're going to sail around Cape Horn of South America.
Mhm.
And they're going to surprise the Spanish on the other side, and they're going to take this galleon that has a bunch of gold. And basically, that fleet, I think everyone probably knows this, but Cape Horn is just treacherous. It's very, very hard to get around that, even nowadays, which is why we built the Panama Canal. But basically, when they're trying to get around that Cape, they shipwreck on an island, and it's just basically their log of getting through that. Not many people do, and it's just fascinating.
And what is the conclusion? Is it dealing with social
It's
issues, or is it more
basically,
just...
yeah, it says basically what are some humans willing to do to survive? What can the human body endure and still survive? It also just talks about like I would say there's some social issues too, because one is like, would you kill someone to survive, like your fellow man, when you don't really need to? Would you eat someone to survive? And then also like they do encounter a couple native tribes during this, and they're very helpful to them. And it's like, how would you treat those people? Especially at that time frame when like you're thinking if they're not civilized, if they're not like really, if they're not European, they're not civilized, but they're saving your life. How do you treat that person? Interesting thought. I recommend the book to everybody. It's very good.
I almost forgot that Andrew and I covered this book and the preceding book as well, the Fourth Turning books. If you want to understand like cycles of culture, I would not recommend the new one. I don't recommend the Fourth Turning is here.
Okay.
One, you reduce from 2 authors down to 1, and he has some biases that leak through in the second book, the Fourth Turning is here, and his predictions sadly, not sadly to say, some of his predictions come completely false. So I would say the better book to read is The Fourth Turning, which analyzes cyclical culture. But those books are both relevant and interesting to read.
I also read the book Devolution.
Which one's that one?
Which is, have you ever read World War Z?
I haven't, but I've heard it's good.
It's very good. I recommend World War Z, but it's by the same author. It's about Bigfoot, so I mean it's a bit of a stretch, but the whole concept is like there's this community of, I was gonna say it's a bunch of liberals. They get isolated in the like mountain town that they built for themselves. It's kind of like this elite area. It's all green and like everything is self-sufficient. But the whole concept is like, well, who are all these people maintaining everything and bringing them food? And then what happens if they're isolated? So, they get isolated and then big feet attack. But it's kind of a comical way of doing it, but it shows like how dependent we can become on, these other systems that are outside of ourselves, and think that we're so independent when we are really not.
The other one that I would recommend people read, especially if you want to understand our future VP, is we covered Hillbilly Elegy on Printed and Pressed, which directly, directly describes culture in the Appalachians, and specifically his growing up in that area.
There's a Netflix movie on this, right?
There is. The movie's good, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the book.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
And if you get the audiobook, actually, here's some tidbit for people. If you listen to the audiobook, it's actually J.D. Vance narrating it.
Oh, okay.
So it's like he went the full mile on that one. So if you want to hear it from his own voice, there you go. It's not hard to find online if you want to read it without, the libraries have it. The audiobook is available in Hoopla. I didn't pay for it. But it was interesting because actually there's a lot of things you can relate to in his story.
Mm-hmm.
If you've come from some more derelict areas of the country.
The thrust of the book is just familial struggles.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
I think everyone can relate to that in some way.
Some way, shape, or form, I'm sure, unless you're like Unless you're like insanely rich, probably, then maybe not.
No, I mean, even that's, I mean, really the only way you don't have some kind of family turmoil is if you don't have a family. So,
And if you're insanely rich.
I mean, being rich doesn't automatically equal you're happy.
I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, yes, you're right. You're right. It doesn't equal happiness.
I mean,
Money does not equal
the
happiness.
Trump family's pretty rich, and they're always fighting with each other. So, just,
oh man, and all those people, those lovely people living on Martha's Vineyard, they seem to not really like people coming from other places and visiting them there.
I've driven through there once.
Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah.
How? It's an island.
Yeah. So I've been on the island.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I had a friend that had a like a beach house there or something.
Oh, neat.
Yep. Yeah.
How close is that to like the New York area?
It's not that far away. I honestly don't remember how long it took us to get there.
Because I would imagine you were probably in that neck of the woods when you were visiting.
I was living right outside New York City at the time. Yep. Some of my neighbors, it was kind of funny. It's like there was us, and there's like these other, like some neighbors that are just down the way, like on top of the other mountain. And oh man, they had some money. Yes.
All right then.
Yes.
You know, beneath Martha's Vineyard is a place called like No Man's Land.
Oh.
Yeah, because I think they filmed Jaws on Martha's Vineyard, didn't they?
Oh, I have no idea.
I thought that was where they filmed Jaws. I saw a video on this once. That's why I'm like, I'm trying to remember. But I'm pretty sure that Martha's Vineyard is where they filmed it. And then it actually, allegedly, according to the movie, occurs on No Man's Land, which is a place where there's like old military stuff. Like you'd be worried about, you know, some like mines going off if you visited there, or like undone, you know, bombs that haven't gone off yet, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's a nature preserve, but allegedly that's where Amity or whatever the heck the place is called is actually at. Which, by the way, talk about a movie influencing culture. How many shark attacks occur per year, but how many people are afraid of sharks?
Yeah, I mean, didn't the director or at least the writer of the story say like he wished he'd never done it?
Something like that, yeah. So like talk about like accidentally, if anything, influencing culture. And then like there's the iconic doo.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Like, my goodness.
I mean, have you ever seen the movie The Pyramid?
I have not.
Oh no, sorry, it's not The Pyramid. The Ruins.
The Ruins? No, I don't think I've seen that either.
It'll make you think about plants differently.
Oh really? Why do you
burn
say
down
that?
the forests?
Burn down the forests. I mean, there is an interesting conversation in State of Fear by Michael Crichton, which indirectly and accidentally influenced politics back when he wrote it. Yeah. That's a book I'd love to cover on our podcast.
Here's a entertainment that definitely influenced the culture is The Crocodile Hunter.
Well, yeah, I mean, in a good way, right?
Oh, in a super good way. I mean, like his passion and like his life mission really, I mean, there's a reason why I'm a biologist today. That
film exists, Will.
Yes, I know. That's why I get confused. It's okay. Oh, okay. It's only okay.
Well, you know, the Scorpion King made me want to go back to the ancient Egypt and become. No, I'm just kidding. Is this
you're going to sacrifice yourself to Anubis? Yeah, the Ruins. I would actually recommend watching this. It's pretty good. I have read the trilogy of Annihilation, or I guess it's the Southern Reach trilogy, and I've seen the movie. They're very different. I love both of them.
I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it.
It's really good. It's one of those make you think. The movie not as much, but it's definitely like makes you think.
Oh, you know what? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
The whole concept of it's an extraterrestrial, so it's an alien. But the thing is, it's like it's some kind of creature that like it basically like we have no idea what it wants. It's so beyond our understanding. And how
is it like the veil thing?
Yes.
Okay, I think I've seen this.
So you said the movie's great. It is really good. The book's even better.
Yeah, I've got the books on the shelf back there. I haven't, even my wife has said I should read it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The middle book in that trilogy, it kind of sucks. Read it just so you can get through the story. The third one's also very good.
Okay. All right. I mean, is it like, I mean, there's a reason Madeline got rid of the second and third books. Can you think of any reason why she would have thrown the second and third ones away? Is it anti-Christian or something?
No, I wouldn't say it's anti-Christian. It's very much sci-fi, so it's just like
Oh, that's probably
weird.
why.
It's just weird.
Yeah, she's not into weird, so that's probably
Yeah,
why. She thought the first book was good though.
yeah. I mean, I'm surprised with that because I don't think there's anything like more weird than the first book. It's just yeah, it's just strange. I mean, it makes like a lot like what happens in those books like is not super logical. And that's the whole point. It's supposed to be unsettling because
Mhm.
it's like it's beyond our understanding. Um, yeah.
The most recent, I just had to think about this because Andrew and I have talked about it a few times. The most recent political or social cultural commentary I've seen was not the Spire. What the heck is it called? It's the one on. Hold on, I'll find it. Apple TV.
I think I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name right now.
Series. Foundation. No, not Foundation. That was a terrible show. Don't watch Foundation. That is garbage. Silo. Silo is a good one. Yeah. If you've read the Foundation books, Apple TV's Foundation series is hot garbage. It makes no sense. The characters are like in the books, none of these characters are related, but they made a mom and daughter in the show, and in the books it's two men who are not related.
Oh.
So it's like none of it makes sense.
Anyways. Occasionally the gender swaps make sense because like it will heighten some
I don't care about gender swaps. They're not even family.
Yeah.
Like that,
you have to have a good reason for that. From a narrative perspective, like you have to really sell the audience, especially when it's based off of something that's already existing. And rarely do they stick that landing.
It made no sense. Like, and really, these people are generations apart. So it'd be more like it'd be the grandkid of the characters they made mom and daughter. It's like, what the heck are you doing? Anyway,
this is not super related, but did you see the new Alien movie this year?
No, I don't watch those usually. I mean, let me put it this way: the last Alien or Predator movie I watched was, and it's not technically part of it, was Prometheus. Is that one?
Okay, yeah, that movie was.
I actually liked it, but I don't.
Really I hated movies. Scientists are always so stupid. They're so dumb. They're like, we're on this foreign planet. Let's take our helmets off. That's a great idea. Let's go tickle.
So it's reality.
Alien snake. No.
I hated that.
Oh yes. Okay. Are you talking about the new one? I also hated it. It was like it blew up. People were like super pumped about it. It nailed the aesthetic, and like the visual look of things. But the story sucked. It sucked so bad.
Oh, I wanted to get back to the Silo. So the commentary on culture in Silo, it's one of those things where they absolutely traded freedom for safety, and you get to see all the consequences of that choice. Mm-hmm. They're living in a completely authoritarian ant colony, essentially, and the doctors will turn on your reproductive organs and off your reproductive organs by use of an inserted hormonal device, and you have to apply to get it. It's like I guess it's like the ultimate, like, you agreed to communism in a silo.
Yeah, it's like Brave New World, and it's the same idea.
It's not Brave New World because this is more dystopian. Brave New World,
same.
Have you seen the Brave New World movie? It's actually really close to the books.
I really like that book. Have you read that recently? Because that is some scary shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have Aldous Huxley who believes you're going to have people. 1984 versus Brave New World.
I'm going to have to give it to 1984 because I read that last year. And oh, man. Well, I read it again. I read it previously. But like, whew.
84 or Brave New World? Which one?
1984. It's like we're getting closer and closer to that reality. And that
okay, what about 84 versus Fahrenheit 451?
I think, I'm honest, I think we're really close to Fahrenheit 451 too.
Yeah, not too far off.
No, I mean, it's like always being plugged in, like always having screens, being shut off to the world. Yeah. Government organizations not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah, it's a little freaky.
Now, if you're going to watch any of the movies, though, I don't think there is a Fahrenheit 451 movie.
There is one on
is there? Okay.
HBO, and I remember liking it. It has Michael B. Jordan in it, and
so it's a newer one.
Yeah. Oh man, I forget the guy's name. The guy who plays Oh my gosh.
I like Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah,
He's a good
I thought it was
actor.
good. It was good. I mean, they definitely changed some things. I mean, you can't fit everything in a book into a movie, but it was
So
good.
1984, that's an old movie. Have you ever seen that one?
Yes, I did. I watched it right after I read the book, and it's weird. I want them to redo that one, but with a director that's from the 50s.
See, you know what's funny is though, like if you had to pick the closest thing to what's happened recently, I'd almost argue you're closer to V for Vendetta than any of these. At least the government aspect
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Not the actual uprising.
Yes.
You're not anywhere near that.
No.
But I would argue that's closer.
Yeah, no, 1984. You need to reread that. It's honestly very scary to go through now. As
You know
a
what I
high
actually
school student, it was entertaining, but I didn't think much of it.
You know what I actually read that was super interesting? I read it very recently. It was a war pamphlet put out by a priest during World War II describing how the Catholic Church was dismantled in Germany during the 1930s. And it was super interesting.
Oh.
It was written by Monsignor Ronald Knox. And it basically talks about the, what would be the right word? Compromising into inefficacy. So you start out in the 1930s, they have a political party, right? They were trying to build something that would dismantle both of the different groups going on at the time. One of them being the Nazis, the other one being I think it was socialist. No, they were the socialists. The other one being the communists. I think, yeah, it was communists and fascists, right?
I'm not sure if communism had gotten there yet.
I don't know. Either way, there was two parties, and essentially the Catholic Church endorsed neither. So they built their own party in the middle, and then through a series of compromises, they ended up dismantling their own party in exchange for freedom of religion in the country, which was quickly taken away from them. It's really interesting because it lays out every choice that was made and how it was a mistake. So, like it's like 50 pages of like history I've never read about.
Yeah, I know before. You're trying to get Andrew and I to both read that. I might pick
it was 50 pages. It was super short. I mean, and it's not like it's a long book. I'm telling you, it's really interesting reading it. But
yeah, and to Colors of Gaming's comment here, yeah, and what's even scarier about that is the fact that it happened in a generation. That's the scariest part, is that they had already forgotten their history within the generation.
84 or
1984, yeah.
Because I would argue that that's the kind of stuff happening right now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, what's crazy to me is that so there's like a couple middle generations that really just don't know anything, and it's very much a product of honestly disinformation, just being addicted to social media, and also like the schooling system suck. But a couple of the ones after that, like it's kind of an interesting like snapback where they're starting to learn more and more about history.
All right, let's get on to a lighter subject here. Colors Gaming Red asks me, I'm assuming this is for me and not for Will, how do we feel about the Dead Rising remake? I think it's pretty good, actually, in spite of all of its flaws. There's a few like character swaps that were politically correct, whatever you want to call it. Nothing detrimental to the game. There was a few weird changes that kind of affect the canon of the story, but only somebody like me or what's his name, Stipo, or those types of people that are really into Dead Rising will notice. And really, it doesn't affect. Really does not affect the game.
One in rage. That's funny.
I see a lot of people raging about the remake. There's a couple of issues I had with like the DRM, and then there's like weird graphics card choices that prevent my PC from playing it. But as long as it runs on my Steam Deck, I don't really care that much. But if I was going to choose the original or the remake, I'm probably choosing the original. But I'm glad that there's a new generation of gamers on the PS5 and Xbox Series X and whatever else who are going to be able to play this game because they avoid everything old.
Yeah, which is dumb. I'm really I realize I am old, but I'm definitely gravitating to like 360 and earlier games now. I just like to be able to pop in a disc and play it.
My two oldest boys can get hours of entertainment out of the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES, and so we've just been jamming to that.
That's awesome.
that's what they've been playing. They play that, and we play a little bit of Mario Kart on the Switch.
Yeah,
a little bit of that too, but they
gotta
like
have him
Super Mario
play
Bros.
Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo.
I have that too. No, next is going to be Donkey Kong Country. We're going to stick with platformers.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
Recently played the old Dead Rising. It was still amazing. Yeah, the original Dead Rising runs surprisingly well on PC. And the HD remasters from the Xbox One and PS4 era run pretty well on modern consoles. So you have a lot of choices. I would say if you've never played it and you're looking to pick up a copy, the one that's going to get the most support going forward will be the remake. So I would just get that. There was a really odd choice. So in the original game, they've got like this big fat Asian man with a giant cleaver, and he's like the butcher in the basement of the garage of the parking structure, which makes no sense. They got like a meat area in a parking garage. Yeah. Anyway, so he's kind of a nut job, and they swapped it out with a big fat white guy with a hat.
Okay.
And he looks like weird, like he looks like the guy from Toy Story that falls asleep in number 2.
Geez, okay.
And he looks like that guy.
A lot of these changes, like they're just eliminating minorities from games. I mean, obviously that's not like a positive representation, but it's still like a representation, and they're removing them.
So I guess that could be another comment about the how the culture and entertainment intertwine. It is strange, some of the changes they made. Like, for example, in the original Dead Rising, there's an old guy in the store with a machete, and I don't remember if he thought he was in Korea or Nam, but there's references to it. Like, I think he says like "Die Viet Cong" at some point, some along those lines, and they removed that from the game and made it like "Die something something something." I don't know. It was something entirely different.
Okay.
But if a guy is like a veteran of a war,
yeah,
it's PTSD. Like, why would that be a problem? I don't understand. You're eliminating a reference to a war the guy fought in for what? What reason? I mean, the war happened.
Yeah. No,
that's like.
I mean, that's essentially what they're going to do. They're going to start eliminating everything.
And then there's the whole commentary where you can say like, oh, the Call of Duty Zombies was always like, communists. Yeah, they took out something about communists. And then there Nazi was zombies, right? Yeah, Nazi zombies, right? But now it's just Call of Duty Zombies. I mean, I think they're still Nazis. I could be wrong about that, but they never call it Nazi zombies anymore.
Like 7 years.
I'm just saying, like I never hear it referred to as Nazi zombies anymore, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's why you have like Nocturne.
I mean, it's like it's in the same vein of like Indiana Jones and stuff. It's fun fighting like the weird mystical Nazis.
Yeah, well, especially the weird science cults they had going on.
Yeah.
And like, for example, the some of the experiments that they allegedly were working on. It's funny to watch the fake rendition of it in the Nazi zombie games, where like one of them brings back this super zombie or like stuff like that, or like the Pentagon one. Wasn't the Pentagon? I think was one of them where you're playing as Nixon, JFK, and like 3 other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, but it's like taking a little nugget of truth and then dialing it up 1,000%. That's what makes it fun.
And then another commentary, right? You've got Man in the High Castle.
Yep.
That's a super interesting plot line that, it's really a direct answer to culture. Mm-hmm. Like, what if we didn't win World War II? What would have happened? And then they're like, here you go. Here's your answer. Although I doubt that that's exactly what would have happened. And then the end of it is kind of a cop-out. Have you read that book?
No.
The end is like, do you know how it ends?
Mm-mm.
So essentially, she figures out that the alternative history is wrong, and they're like living in a fake world. And like, as soon as you figure out you're in the fake world, you can escape to the real world where the Americans won and everything.
Right, whatever.
It's like, yeah, it's really dumb.
I would have rather just them keep it like that actually is reality.
Well, the best part is like throughout the book or throughout the series, they're like building a counter resistance to the Japanese subjugation of America and the German subjugation of America. Mm-hmm. And throughout the series, they go way further into the social and political cultures that evolve from that than the book ever does. Because by the time you get to the end of the book, you're only 200 pages in, and you're like, where the heck did this TV series come from?
Okay. Most interesting concept. So I know they made a show a few years back now. It's like, what if the South won? And I watched the first episode because I was like, oh, this is going to be, I like alternative history, things like that. And it was stupid because, I mean, the first episode should have been like, well, everyone started talking German.
If the South would have won?
Yeah, because they had no industry. They would have been immediately invaded.
Wait, the South in the Civil War?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, they would have been immediately annihilated. It would have been
You think that Germany in the 1800s would have come? Oh, Prussia? You think Prussia was coming over to take over?
Germany and Prussia both existed. So yeah, I mean, it would have been the German.
But I thought Germany and Prussia were essentially one entity at that time.
Two different countries.
Were they? Okay. I thought they were. Are you sure?
Whatever. Maybe it's Prussia. I don't remember.
I thought Prussia was what eventually
still would have been speaking German.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. Yeah. You're not wrong about that. I was gonna say I thought the Prussian Empire ended like around the same time as the Roman Empire died.
I mean, or honestly, like,
or the Papal States
would have happened. Like, the thing about who was still dominant at the time. I mean, England was still pretty dominant. They would have.
Yeah, I mean, the British
taken it back.
The British Empire essentially ended during World War II, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of their holdings in like Africa and stuff at that time ended then.
Because I mean, they were still fighting the Boers Wars in like World War One.
Yeah.
They were fighting the Boers. They were still, they were still being really nasty to the Irish settlements, and they were terrible to the. I mean, really, when you look back at some of the horrors of,
yeah, basically any of the European countries would have invaded immediately.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the only reason America gained independence is because the French intervened in both purposefully and non-purposefully.
Second.
Well, I mean, the English didn't have the ability to fight a war on two fronts, so they chose to fight the French instead of the Americans. The War of 1812 really could have been the end of the country.
Yeah,
It could have been
War of Independence. Yeah, no,
it was close. I mean, if the French hadn't been fighting them, they would probably beat us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
And they gave us the Statue of Liberty, so
the French. Yeah, no. Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, it was the French.
It was the French.
I was gonna say no, it's Egypt. No, they were trying to give it to Egypt, and Egypt said no.
Egypt said no.
That's we were not supposed to get that.
That's funny. Was it because they wanted to replace the old Colossus?
I don't know. That's why it's based off of it's a Greek deity, but I mean, Egypt was conquered by the Greeks.
Actually, the face of the Statue of Liberty is based on the artist's mom's face. If you look it up, if you look it up, it looks like his mom.
Nothing will make me like the French. That's right.
Nothing will make me like. Well, the French also became, very, very anti-religion in the 1800s.
Yeah, obviously, I can't hold all French people responsible for what I'm about to say, but my grandfather, everyone's grandfather, fought in World War II, and he was hidden in France. And they told the German soldiers who were in town where he and his little platoon was. So he had a deep and abiding hatred for the French after that.
Well, I imagine.
He didn't it was very much if it was a different race, it would have been a racist situation.
Well, this podcast is over now because I'm part French.
Yeah, I mean, British descent. You're mostly French anyway. Sorry to let you know that.
Wait, what? Oh, because he's British.
Yeah, this is essentially the same people. They
the Frankish
conquered each other so many times.
Well, my French is the Navarres that settled in the Monroe area, right? So
yeah,
that's the earliest French that you can think of.
Yeah, I still hate you, Chris. I knew there was something about you.
Well, they wouldn't have been fighting in World War II. That's for sure.
No. I'm German, Polish, so I don't know. I guess the Polish doesn't really have any beef, but the Germans. That's a little bit of a different story.
I've got several branches that intermarried with Native Americans, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, so do I. The Germans have been here for, honestly, they're so diluted at this point. There's no German in me anymore.
Do you know what book I recently read? That kind of, this is a sidestep kind of, but it's interesting. The Wrinkle in Time trilogy. I just finished that today.
Oh yeah, I remember the first book, sort of.
I'm like, I need to look up whether there's any truth to these interminglings between the Welsh and the Indians, because that's a constant narrative piece in the third book. Like, if you see, apparently they kept saying that there's blue-eyed Indians because they intermarried with the Welsh. I'm like, is that true, or is this just made up for the fiction of the book?
I mean, technically, it's possible they could just have blue eyes too. So, I mean,
They
there's
could,
occasionally Africans that have blue eyes.
I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a gene defect that led to blue eyes in the European
It's a mutation.
settlements.
It's not it's not a defect.
Okay, not a defect.
I have blue eyes. I'm not gonna say it's a defect.
It's a defect. You're like, it's not a defect. It's a feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, at least we don't have a video game called Election 2024.
Yeah. I mean, it's been an interesting season of America. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
I can't wait for the next season. I don't know how they're gonna top this. Okay. Assassination attempts.
It's been pretty wild. Yeah.
One candidate got deposed. I mean, there's a whole bunch, like triple felonies. Oh my gosh, it's great.
Oh! I thought you were suggesting the current president was deposed. And I was like, I don't think he was. No. So they say he was too old and senile to do that.
He got bumped out though. He got replaced.
Last minute change out. Who was at bat?
Mm-hmm. Crazy times, man.
It is crazy, yeah. Very crazy. And I don't care who you voted for. You can watch us either way.
Yeah, I don't care either. What I do care about is, has Arizona called yet? How are we in 2024? We spend all this freaking money on these damn machines, and they can't count instantly. Shouldn't it just be like and it's already counted? Like, I don't understand.
The only thing. Okay, let me just hear me out real quick. The only thing I can see slowing down election counting is mail-in ballots, because you have to open every envelope and then run it through a machine, and that can take a long time.
What they need to do with mail-in ballots is it has to be like, there's got to be different windows. So you have mail-in ballots that have to be postmarked 2 weeks before, so they have to get there like early, and then they can start feeding it to the machine. Like to your point, to like speed.
I'm not saying it's efficient and they can't fix the process. I'm saying that depending on when you're allowed to start counting, if you got to open every darn ballot,
like, how does Florida get it in? How does Florida figure it out?
Because I don't think they have universal mail-in ballots.
I'm sure they have some.
But I think Arizona and Nevada and I think Michigan and probably California and New York.
I mean, Michigan took a while, but they finally did declare it.
But some of them allow you to start counting them early, and some of them request or may force you to start on election day. I think Nevada can't open any ballot till election day.
Yep.
Which is why they take so much longer to count.
I mean, I get the concept. I don't know. I think that honestly,
that's why early voting makes more sense than mail-in.
Yeah, early voting makes more sense. But also, I think that why is voting on a Tuesday? That's the first question. We need to dismantle this whole system.
I think that's actually in the Constitution.
It's on a Tuesday?
I think it is. Let me double check that. I thought that was like of the weirdest possible things. I think that's actually in the Constitution.
I am okay with them changing that one.
Let me just say, is election
Let's start a petition
in the Constitution?
Or at the very least, just make it a holiday. We have holidays for everything else. Why can't we have a holiday for that?
So yeah, it says the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November, every even numbered year is the established day for the election.
Oh, geez. I think they just pulled that thing out.
No, that's literally in the Constitution. Like, why did they make that decision?
There was something that Ben Franklin was trying to get out of on a Tuesday. That's all.
This is hilarious.
Sounds like his divorce hearing was on that day or something.
Let's see here. Oh, and they spelled choosing wrong, too. Says, in order to reduce the risk that cabals would manipulate selection of the president, the framers provided for Congress to select a single day on which the electors would vote for the president. Discussing the benefits of this provision at the Constitutional Convention, Governor Morris of Pennsylvania stated, as the electors would vote at the same time throughout the U.S. and at so great a distance from each other, the great evil of cabal was avoided. It would be impossible to corrupt them.
Well,
And it says such a
The
measure
moment
is
you say something's
calculated.
impossible, that's when you screw up. But
It says such a measure is calculated to repress political intrigues and speculations by rendering a combination among the electoral colleges as to their votes, if not utterly impracticable, at least very difficult, and thus secures the people against those ready expedients which corruption never fails to employ to accomplish its designs. The arts of ambition are thus in some degree checked, and the independence of electors against external influence in some degree secured. Anyway, this is it's literally
I think you
from the
should just get the day
Constitution.
off then.
Yeah, I mean, national holiday makes sense. I'm totally
I think that when it's a federal election, like the president, that should be the only thing on the ballot.
Why do you say that?
Because then everyone can have the same ballot, and there's no like weird state by state rules and regulations, and no one has to like. There's no carryover.
You don't like that there's down ballot selection because of the presidential?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean,
I think people should be forced to actually think about it.
Or at the very least, like you mean like there shouldn't be straight ticket things.
Oh, I absolutely disagree with straight tickets. Yeah.
I think it is weird that we have straight tickets. Like Michigan has straight tickets.
In Virginia, we don't have it. So you should not be able to select one party. You should have to go through and individually select the candidates. And
I also think that every candidate should be required to have an easily accessible site with their specific stances on things. Yep. I also, this is probably unpopular amongst those people in the various groups, but I don't think there should be any parties in the system. Every candidate should stand on their merits and not on a party.
I mean, that's essentially what Washington. He definitely warned against a two-party system. I think we should have. I really wish that we had like 4 or 5 ruling parties, the ones that actually had dominance.
Well, the problem with 3 though, if you only had 3, is you end up with Canada, where you've got two like main parties, and then the middle party. And the middle party just sides with whoever is currently in charge.
Yeah, so I prefer like the Dutch system or the kind of the English system too. Not the rest of it, just this party type of idea, where you have like you get 30% of the votes and you can become a ruling party.
No more parties. I'm a party pooper.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, good luck. There's so much money in this now that I don't
know. No, I know that. Yeah, I also think political action committees should just be gone.
Yeah.
If I was the monarch for a day to revamp this system, first off, I wouldn't
never give up that power.
I wouldn't give up that power, but
I already know a couple of edicts that you do, and it'd be scary for everybody.
Anyway, I would revamp a lot of things if you put me in charge for the day. For one, Will would get to go fishing all the time and not have to have a job. That'd be written down in law.
Okay. All right. I guess I'm going along with the rest of it. That's fine now.
And he would live in a mansion somewhere of my choosing.
I don't like the last part of that.
the middle of the Death Valley mansion.
Yep. Really good fishing there too, man. Different definition of sand trout. Yeah.
I'm joking. Anyways, is there any other
okay, how about this? I'll this question. Fable.
Yeah, let's go to Fable. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so Fable was it wasn't political, but there was always some progressive stuff in there. I mean, it's an RPG, so you can choose to marry whoever you want, you can choose to sleep with whoever you want, all kinds of choices in that game. And something that's concerning to me is someone on the development team responded to a fan saying, like, I hope you don't put woke stuff into it. And then someone on the development team said Fable's always been woke. And that scares me because no, it hasn't been.
There's an achievement in Fable 3 called He's a Woman, She's a Man.
Yeah.
And that's from like 2009, 2010.
You're talking about the second game.
It's just cross-dressing. That's all it is.
Oh, I mean, the second game, you can also change your gender like at the end of the game.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
you have to find the magic potion.
Really?
Yeah. But the thing is, you don't have to do that if you don't want to.
Well, yeah, you don't have to do that. Of course not.
Yeah. So
there's also an achievement for having multiple partners, which is even like the Paramore achievement or whatever.
Yes.
Which, funnily enough, did not unlock for me at all. And when I imported my save file to the Xbox One, then it magically did. After like 10 years later or something. And I was like, what? I didn't even know I did this achievement.
Yeah, you did. You're a Randy middle schooler.
Oh, geez. Yep, Catherine Fullbody's gone. No, I don't care what games you guys want to play. Like, look, if I were Monarch for a day, there would be anything you would want to read would exist, but it would be barred behind the correct age appropriateness.
You have to get permission from Chris.
No,
you
but I mean, like,
whatever you want,
you
as long as
there are certain demographics and age groups that certain discussions are not necessarily appropriate for. Mm-hmm. And so you either have to have some kind of an advisory telling them what's going to be in the books so that you know what you're buying for your children, or you have to set it by age. Like, if you're under the age of 18, there probably should not be anything promiscuous in the books, because you can't buy that kind of art and you can't buy those kinds of books, magazines, I should say, or those kinds of videos.
Ultimately, it's up to the parent, though. So it's like, if it's something at Barnes and Noble and it's
I understand that
rating, then it's like, whatever.
Yeah, it's content.
But I'm not going to put Call of Duty into a kindergarten classroom. I know where you're getting
exactly. So, do you remember the Modern Warfare 2 issue that occurred right when it launched, where they had you following like a double agent?
The No Russian thing?
Yeah. Yep.
It was funny is, like, I did not even really process what was happening there. Like, it didn't bother me at all. I just played that game and didn't think about it.
Because you know you're a double agent and then you get double crossed.
I mean, I was annoyed by the walking part. The walking, like how I couldn't pass them.
But yeah, there's not, like, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, also, I don't care. It's a video game. I don't care if I was shooting people.
None of those people are real. I think that's the problem. Woke is a set of beliefs that leak into the entire game and leaves no room for nuance. Well, I don't want to do the get woke, go broke thing, because that's, people do that. And it's like, whatever. No, I think the problem you run into is you have people who know their audience is going to disagree with them, and they still insert their dominance in the game anyways.
Yep. And then they get mad when you don't like it.
Right. It's like, I'm going to take my ball and go home. And it's like, look, you're free to express whatever opinion you want, and I'm free to disagree with it. And I don't have to buy your product if I disagree with your opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think a great example is a lot of the modern movies where they have just, female heroines, but they're just super unrelatable. They're super cringy and just terrible. And it's the same. They're going for the same concept as what was done perfectly well in movies like Terminator 2 or Aliens, where you still have a badass female, but they're relatable. They have struggles in the movie. They're cool.
Or how about The Matrix?
Or The Matrix, exactly. So that, again, there's a hero's journey. They struggle. They have to deal with real stuff. Give me some. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that statement.
Oh, the way he wrote it?
On either side. Yeah, I hate both of them.
Well, yeah, like, you're not going to want... Let's just put it this way. No normie is going to want to wake up to extreme right propaganda or extreme left propaganda when they plug their game into their console. They want a story that's good. Mm-hmm. You can have those elements in there and not make it terrible, but you really can't make that the focal point or the way that the game... Like, there's a certain demographic that would love a game all about, I don't know, the Pope Simulator I saw on Steam. Like, there are people that will want to play that, I'm sure.
What can you do in the Pope Simulator, Chris?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I just saw it and I was like, what?
How inappropriate can we get with this conversation?
Well, I think they actually have Pope Francis as the person you're playing as. So it's like modern Pope, not like, not like,
Borgia Pope. That would be fun. That'd be a fun game.
They have the Borgia Pope in a couple of video games. Did you know that?
I mean, like Assassin's Creed or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's portrayed.
I want to play as I want to play as the Border
He is
Pope.
portrayed very badly in that game. Like he's like one of the ultimate bad guys. I found out later on, but anyway, that's a different conversation.
I think that's like the kind of the mythos of those games, right?
Overt propaganda is not interesting.
Yes.
I loved the absolutely terrible propaganda in Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Have you seen it?
No.
The opening scene is like a bunch of people protesting. What the heck was it? It was like they wanted you to eat chickens instead of cows or something insane like that. It was something stupid.
Is it a Chick-fil-A ad?
No. Let me look it up.
Yeah, but I mean, to the extreme right situations, like, I mean, how many, Republican senators have tried to ban video games?
Oh, it was Save Our Sheep.
Okay.
They literally walk around with signs like "Save our sheep, save our sheep."
Oh my gosh!
Like, what the heck? It's just stupid. Like that. That is funny propaganda, and it works for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Do you have anything else you wanted to say? Culture, entertainment, etc. No. Oh, last thing.
Okay.
The Dune game or the Dune movies. Like, for example, you've got 2 different time periods producing the same story. Not remake.
They ruined it. They ruined it.
Dune 2?
Yeah.
Or Dune in general?
Yep. I don't know how they're gonna salvage that storyline.
Oh, because of the Chani stuff, right? Or not Chani.
The whole Fremen situation is completely messed up. I don't know how.
Am I saying the right name? Because I feel like I'm mixing up the.
No, Chani is the. Yeah.
That is the right name. Okay, because there's a shot. I think it's Shani in the Witcher, and I was like, wait a second, am I mixing up these names? Okay, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how they're gonna salvage that because like she is the foundation upon which he's elevated, and they're separate. They're like married and separated at the end of the second movie.
I don't understand. I don't want to watch Dune 2 after reading the book. So
wait, did you watch
Dune
the second
Part
one?
2 is still the first book. I don't know if that's what you're.
Yes, Dune Part 2 is still the first book.
It's just the second half of the first book.
But what I meant to say though is like, depending on the culture at the time that a movie is produced, it will contribute to different flaws and different strengths.
Yep.
So like, for example, when you produce Dune in the 80s, you wind up with David Lynch directing the film, and you have Sticks. Is that the right name?
I don't know.
Oh, no, not Sticks. What is his name?
Who are we talking about? Name
the guy. He. No. He's like, he's got a very short name like Sticks. It's not Sticks though. It's gonna bother me.
Are you thinking about the actor's name or the character's name?
The actor's name.
Oh, okay.
Dune actor. Sting. Oh, Sting
okay.
plays. Oh God, it's been so long since I've read Dune. Now at this point, I'm forgetting character names. He plays the nephew of Baron.
Federatha.
He plays Fade-Ratha. Yeah, he plays Fade. And so you end up with Sting playing Fade-Ratha in the 80s, and it works great. And then you end up with a totally different direction with the Harkonnens in the new movies because of how the culture influences how the movie's produced, right? And so you have this thing where depending on what time period and what culture exists, you'll get a different movie.
Oh, for sure.
Our
current culture completely ruined the damn Dune movies.
I agree, because they want to push strong heroines.
I don't understand because there's so many strong heroines in that series. Like it blows my freaking mind that they even thought like this is a perfect series to adapt if you want to do that. Oh man, it's so frustrating to me.
And you also have the sci-fi miniseries, but nobody talks about that.
No. But the thing is, like, it's so beautifully shot, and I think all the actors do a great job. It's just so annoying to me, the changes that they made. I knew something was off the moment they showed Liet Kynes.
Yeah.
Like, yep, this isn't going to be right. Because
wait a second here.
Yeah, because the entire Fremen culture is extremely patriarchal. That's the whole point.
But because we're produced in a society that hates the patriarchy,
Yeah.
you can't have a patriarchal culture in a story that's
Yeah.
highly patriarchal.
Yeah. It's just super frustrating because like I don't understand how that society even backs Paul at that point.
Why are we changing fictional societies to meet the culture's demands? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know, because there's already a matriarchal society built into that series.
Yeah, the Bene Gesserit.
Yes.
And they're very strong and powerful too.
Yes. And the thing is, there's so many characters, and like every book introduces more and more super cool females, and I'm not excited to see any of that now.
Well, the real question I have is, if you continue past Dune Part 3, because it could happen, how do you do Children of Dune with the changes you've made?
Well, I mean, I think the next one has to be. No, I guess no. Sorry,
they have to have a time skip now, because I don't know how you have the sister.
They just have to the sister being born, but you also have to have them reconciling their relationship.
Yeah,
which is just so dumb.
And she's like just taking off. And
that's another thing that really pissed me off about the Chinese character in this, because in the books she is the one who encourages him to marry the princess. Okay, he didn't want to do it.
She gives him permission at the
no. You have to think about it. This is how that culture works. Because remember, he also married the guy that he killed.
Oh yeah, his
wife.
Woman.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's just how that society works.
But he didn't consummate that marriage.
But I mean, it would have been unexpected and also supported.
No, he doesn't though. But he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Right.
Which is why he also does not want to marry the empress or the princess, but she tells him to do it.
Yeah.
Which again, they completely ruined that entire plot line.
So yeah, I think depending on when something is produced, the culture that surrounds that entertainment can influence both positively and negatively the final production. And Dune is a great example, because you can see 3 different depictions of it. You've got Dune in the 80s, which was somewhat faithful to the books, but then the ending is like, what the heck were you thinking? It's raining on Arrakis.
Mm-hmm.
While the music is epically playing in the background. It's like, do, do, do. It's like, oh my gosh. And then there's the sci-fi miniseries, which follows the books almost to a T. It's very darn close. And because of that, the popularity wasn't as high, because it's just a lot going on in 6 hours, and the CGI wasn't as good. Mm-hmm. And then you roll into the final iteration, which is the newest one. And the culture has influenced each version differently. 20 years apart each, pretty much. 80s, early 2000s, 2020s.
Yep.
So I'm sure there's other options for that, but that's one of the best ones. But I know you and I originally agreed 9 to 10, and we're at 10:30. I apologize for that.
You should be. You're not king yet.
I'm not king yet, but I will be. Anyways, I want to thank the people watching. Anybody that decided to actually tune in for this, this podcast has been going on for how many years now, Will?
At least 4, right? 5 years.
Did we start in 2019?
Yeah, it would have had to be.
I think it was pre-pandemic.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So 5 years. 5 years of the CHRILLCAST. I wonder if anything will change after this year. We'll see.
We'll see.
Anyways, as always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And we will see you
on next CHRILLCAST. Bye, guys.